Hello everyone, I'm Colin Canet. We're going to have some real fun today because I've been shopping at a dollar store, and you hear me talking about it in my videos, the things that I pick up at dollar stores that I use. Today I'm going to show you the list of things that I use, but I'd like to know what you use as well. So at the end of the video, if you see some things that you use that were not on my list, I'd really like to know what you're using as well, because there's probably some tips there for me to use. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, I like to have some organization, and these dowels that I use, they're awkward in the bags, and you know what? I can put them in these little organizers. They're inexpensive, and they keep the dust out of them. And now they're really easy to pick up when I'm using dowels on the desktop. I don't have to worry about laying them on the desk on the top here, and they roll off sometimes. So just a really quick way of organizing, and there's all sorts of things that you can put in these. So these are handy and they're inexpensive. They come in a pack. These came in a pack of 3. So okay, what's next? Oh, my little wire, plasticized wire. This is just wire with a plastic coating on it. And these even have their own little cutter on them. If you haven't seen these before, these are so handy. And you cut off little pieces of wire. Look, I use these for wrapping up some of my video cords, some of my audio cords. There's one that's yet to wrap up. But you know what? I even use it for keeping things together. You know that I use these old mustard bottles, and sometimes these caps get, the hinges go on them, so I just hang on to them, and you know what, that's where I store them, is right on my main jug, and when the cap wears off, I know exactly where they are all the time. So handy little things in the workshop. Okay, what else did I find? Oh, look at these. This is the first time I've seen these. These are these disposable gloves. There's 100 of them in there. And look at what these are the gloves. These are the ugly gloves that I've talked about in the past. Let me show you what they look like. Look at that. Isn't that an ugly glove? But you know what? These gloves are, if you're using any of the CA glues, CA glue does not stick to this, and I'm using more and more CA glue in my projects now, and when if I have to hold something temporarily, because this can be so quickly, it adheres very quickly, but it doesn't stick to these gloves. But you know what, they're fairly tough. You can use them for painting, lots of things. I wouldn't use them for repairing my car, but otherwise they're great gloves, and look, they're inexpensive. You get 100 of them in there for a little over $1. It's a great find. And the next thing I have here are these little cups, and I get these from time to time, but I think these ones that I just purchased are actually plastic, because sometimes they're paper. Yeah, these are plastic, so these can often, depending on what you're mixing in these, you can clean these out with a little bit of paper, or sometimes just let the stuff dry and it'll just pop out. But they're very inexpensive. I like these for mixing. Sometimes I'm mixing epoxies, and once in a while I need to mix a little bit of color and some dye into it. Sometimes I'm using a dry dye, sort of, it's a powder, and sometimes I'm using a wet, and just mixing that up. Sometimes I'm even changing the color of something, and I need to mix up some temporary colors to see what it looks like. So these are really handy, and you know what? I think you get like 20 or 30 of these, and they last me about a year as well, because I don't use them all that often. And these plastic ones might even last longer because I can reuse these. Now I'm getting close to the end of my bag here, but here's another thing that I get from time to time. These organizers. I just love these things for tying up cables. I just like to be really organized with these cables, because when I'm pulling a tool out of the cupboard, I don't want it to grab the cord to grab another tool on the way out. Here's one of the most useful things I get from the dollar store. These paintbrushes. I don't use them for painting, I use them for spreading glue. And what I do is I take them and cut the ends off just like that. And it doesn't matter if they're perfectly square across the top. The reason you cut them off is because they spread the glue a lot better when they're a little bit firmer. And that's all that needs, like that. And that now is a perfect way of spreading glue. But I don't just throw these out. I don't buy them and throw them out because they're nice nylon. What I'll often do is just put a little tub of water near where I'm doing my glue ups, and rather than take this and try and clean it out while I'm in the middle of a glue up, at the end of the glue up I just put it in the little this little container like that with water in it. Then I finish my glue up. Then after I'm all done, I can come back and take that and just rinse the glue out. And these can last me weeks and even months. So they're very handy and great for doing larger glue ups when you have to do a lot of gluing. And this one was what I came in the first place for, to the dollar store, is this is where I wanted to store all of my dovetailing tools, all the bits and pieces, my tools, my marking gauge, my saw, all my measuring tools, and of course my chisels. Make sure that I don't bang those somewhere. Put that one down there. A great way of keeping all of these things in one place. Well, that's a pretty good cross-section of the things that I use on a pretty frequent basis, and I reuse things as much as I can, too, to get the best value out of it. I'm Colin Canet for Woodwork Web. Thanks for watching.